Question number 8, Dr Russel Norman.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for the Environment and asks, does she agree with Guy Salmon's comments that she is a minister who wants to lower environmental standards?
Honourable Amy Adams.
Mr Speaker, no.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Dr Russel Norman.
Well then, what does she say to Guy Salmon, an ecologist, a former National Party candidate, co-author of the National Party's Blue-Green Vision Statement, one of the architects of the Land and Water Forum, who said about her, and I quote, "This is the first time I've dealt with a minister who has been wanting to lower environmental standards. This shouldn't be happening in New Zealand."
Honourable Amy Adams.
Well, Mr Speaker, it's not for me to speculate on Mr Salmon's motives, but I would say to him what I've said to everyone who's asked me that question, which is absolutely the fundamental purpose and protections in Section 5 of the Act have not been proposed to change, and where we have proposed sections for deletion from Section 7, it is on the basis of expert, highly respected legal and professional advice. On the contrary, Mr Salmon and fellow commentators have provided no evidence whatsoever to back up their wild assertions.
Supplementary question, Dr Russel Norman.
Does she agree with Guy Salmon, an ecologist, former National Party candidate, co-author of the National Party's Blue-Green Vision Statement, architect of the Collaborative Land and Water Forum, that her proposed changes to the RMA are, and I quote, "really tantamount to having the minister direct whether a development goes ahead or not. This is how they do things in China"?
Honourable Amy Adams.
Well, of course not, and I would simply say that Mr Salmon in those comments is once more wrong and shown that he hasn't understood exactly what is being proposed, which is that central government would only be able to intervene where a clearly stated national objective hasn't been fulfilled. And I would point out to that member that it's his own party that's been calling for stronger central government leadership to protect environmental standards, and that's exactly what we're proposing.
Supplementary question, Dr Russel Norman.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Why does she think Guy Salmon, the architect of the Collaborative Land and Water Forum, said of her changes to the RMA allowing ministers to overrule water conservation orders that, and I quote, "that really completely undermines the purpose of having a collaborative process in the first place. It's going back to think big days"?
Honourable Amy Adams.
Mr Speaker, well, I have no ministerial responsibility for what goes on in Mr Salmon's head, so I couldn't comment.
Supplementary question, Dr Russel Norman.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Isn't the criticism by Mr Salmon of this government's environmental policy simply a reflection of the fact that since the 2011 election, the government has been taken over by ministers like Stephen Joyce with an anti-environmental agenda, a takeover by a faction that opposes everything the Blue-Green say they ever stood for?
Honourable Amy Adams.
No.
Question number 9, Dr Cam Calder.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister for Tertiary Education, Schools and Employment, what has New Zealand's income from international education been for the past